the founder of Rainkraft. This is a company I started about 4 years ago after I left a career of about 15 years with Citibank. The reason why I'm associated with Jobs for Her is that I am very keen on mentoring women to get back to the workforce. As someone who's managed large teams and been a hiring manager for many years, I understand the difficulties in restarting your career. I understand the challenges that you face, and I've also seen it from the other side and understand what corporates are looking for. So I look forward to your questions today. We have some questions now. Priyanka asks, should I mention my career break in my resume? Right? That's a very oft-asked question and a very important one. And what I always tell restarters is that the career break is a choice that you made in a certain part of your life. It's a decision to attend to something which was very important or critical to you at that stage. So be it motherhood or be it taking care of an elder or marriage, whatever it may be. So do mention the career break. You can mention it in two ways. One, you could clearly say that, okay, after job opportunity one or employment one, you can mention the period during which you stepped away, and you can call it motherhood or break in career, whatever you feel comfortable with. Or you could just move on to the next career, but the dates that you mentioned will clearly indicate that you've taken a break. And in your professional summary, you could indicate that you have taken a career break. But definitely do mention it, because I'm sure it will come up in your interview, and it would be odd that you have not put it in your resume. Okay, so we go on to the next question from Rajita. She says she has 15 years of experience in software and has taken a break for almost 10 years for family responsibilities and would like to come back to the work stream. And how should she plan her career, and should she continue in the same field or change her field now? Firstly, Rajita, congratulations on having taken this decision to come back to the workplace. Right? It's not going to be easy, but it is a decision you've taken, and now there are many steps you can take to make sure that you are able to carry forward this initiative. Right? How do you plan your career going forward? I think the first most important thing is to sit down and think about what exactly you want to be doing, right? When we get back after a break, especially if we still have commitments at home, right? Whether it is, in-laws who are still unwell or young children, it's going to be just very difficult to step out of the door every morning, right? So you need to make sure that you step into something which is so compelling, which is so interesting to you, that you're able to step out every day and say, okay, let me spend 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, whatever it is, doing something that I want to be doing. For that, at this stage, please do sit down and spend some time thinking about what that looks like. What would you like to be doing, right? And that will really, we don't take time enough to think about it, and that clarity will get you going on the right path. The next question that you ask is, should I continue in the same field or change the field? So that's really guided a lot by how you want to be spending that day away from home. Your experience is in software. So the challenge there is that some of the tools and technologies that you worked on may not be relevant today, right? Don't let that be the guiding factor in changing your field, right? Technology changes, but think about what are the underlying skills that I have. Your skill set is coding, your skill set is logical thinking, your skill set is analytical thinking, right? It's not just a language, programming language that you know. So if you still know and enjoy that, right, then think about going back into software, right? If you don't, and you say that you want, I'm really not looking to sit down and code or even learn a new technology because I've been away for so long that it doesn't interest me anymore, then think about, okay, what are the skills, and with that, what new field can I choose, right? Do I like public speaking? Do I want to manage events because of that? Do I like to write, and do I read a lot and can write well? So do I want to take up a career in content writing? Do I still want to use my analytical skills and get into something like digital marketing and managing client portfolios, right? So there are a lot of, luckily you will find that in these 15 years now, there are 10 years after your break, there are a lot of new avenues which have opened up. But for that, spend some time figuring out what is your underlying skill set, whether it is coordinating with people, communicating with people, or working alone on data, working on design, working on writing. So think about your skill sets, and then with that, look at what fields you can get into. So the next question I have is, Madhu asks, how do I select my employer? Just as I'm giving my 100% as an employee, what are the expectations to have from an employer so that there is a long association? That's a very interesting question, Madhu, right? Because we always think about what we take to the table, and you're looking at it the other way, right? So I think typically when anybody in any, joining any new organization and looking to start a career, there are a few things that you should look at. One fundamental thing is the culture fit, right? And today, for any organization that you want to join, even if it's a startup, there is enough information online to say what kind of company is it, who are the people running it, what do they value or what do they believe. Even for a startup, you will know who the founders are or who the advisors are, who's running the company, and you can look them up on various social media and figure out what is it that you feel that the culture that they will bring to the organization. Does that culture fit you? Right? That's probably one thing that you need to ask the employer. What kind of culture can I expect once I come here? Is it very cutthroat? Is it very, very competitive? Because maybe I'm in a phase of my career where I'm not looking to be that. I'm not, is it somewhere where I need to be sitting in the office for 12 hours a day to show that I have been productive? Because again, I'm not looking for something like that. So think about asking what the culture is. The other thing is that are they a learning organization? Maybe that is important for you. You're coming back after a break. There are certain skills that you need to add to yourself, whether those are technical skills or behavioral skills. Does the organization support my learning needs? And will that help for a longer association because they let me learn as I work? So these are a couple of things top of the mind. If you have any other specific questions, please do type it in. Right, so I'll go on to Sarah, who asks that she has 3 years of experience in FMCG. She got a break, took a break of about 6 years and did some freelance projects. Can I add the freelance projects as experience since I've been doing content writing for the last 3 years? Will it add any experience to my resume? Definitely, any work that you have done, whether it is a full-time employment, part-time, freelance, social work, right, should go on your resume. And the reason is that the resume is not really about what the job description given to you was. The resume is about what you did with that job, right? What you did as a content writer. How did you add value to your clients? What did you do in the FMCG industry? How did you add value to the role that was given to you, whether it was in sales or marketing or procurement, right? So the important part of a resume is really, the mistake many make is they highlight what the details about the employer or details about the job description, right? Our job is to market ourselves, not the employer. So in your resume, you need to talk about how you added value to what role was given to you and what you gained out of it. When you finish those 3 years in FMCG or as 3 years as a content writer, what new skills have you added to yourself? And definitely it should go on to your resume because you've made valuable use of your time. I hope that answers your question. Then I'll move on to Shweta. Sonia, who says, in my domain, sourcing and procurement, there are limited openings and there is no other certification to back me up. And hence there is a lot of competition when she goes for interviews. I also have travel domain experience. However, the salaries there are not great. I do not wish to change my domain, right? Okay, Sonia, this comes back to one of the questions we were asked earlier in terms of how do I decide whether I should change my domain or stay in the same domain, right? You need to sit down and think about your skill sets, right? You need to think about what is it that I am good at, what is it that I like to do, what is it that I want to do, right? All these are important for you to take time and answer for yourself before you make critical decisions on which domain to spend the next few years, right? And whether it is sourcing and procurement or travel industry, the two of them require a different kind of skill set. They require a different kind of energy, right? Sourcing and procurement might be something that if you get into an organization, you can do a comfortable office job. The travel industry may require you to do longer hours or may require you to actually travel. So you need to look at one, which is it that I'm comfortable spending so many hours in a day doing, which is the one that gives me the kind of flexibility that I'm looking for today, right? After that, coming to your specific concern about competition. See, I think ladies, that's a reality. Each one of us, when you go out into the job market, you are competing with anyone and everyone who wants a job. That may be a man, that may be a woman, anybody who wants a job is your competition, right? But that is not going to be the reason why we say, oh, we won't even step out and look for the job, right? If you can find some place, think through and say, okay, this I've identified these companies and I'm applying here because there is a fit between what I want to do and what they are doing, and I can project the work that I have done so far in a suitable way, and I can convince them that I have the skills to do what they need, then you are equal to any other competition, right? The advantage today is that so many organizations are realizing that the talent pool that exists in women who want to restart, right? Women who want to restart are very, very clear that the hours that they spend at work, they are going to be 200% productive, right? They don't have time to fool around. They don't have time to, waste thinking about, okay, who can I meet and what can I do? Are they going to get down to their work because they have to finish their day at a certain time and get back to other commitments, right? So their work quality is very high. They are extremely loyal, right? So there's a talent pool that organizations are keen to onboard, right? The effort from our side has to be to project our best, to show what we're good at, to do our homework to the company that we go to and show why we are relevant to them, right? And not kind of look for any form of sympathy pity hiring. That's not going to happen, right? You're going to get it because you're good for the job, and that is up to you to show that you are good for the job. So if you have experience in sourcing and procurement, read more about it, understand what are the latest things happening in this industry, so that when questions are asked, you are able to answer them, right? And that itself will set you apart from many others who you consider competition. Right? Moving on to Divya's question. There are many tips and tricks online about interview etiquette. It ultimately depends on the candidate to apply these ideas during the interview and ace it. In layman terms, what should be my strategy to impress the hiring manager in the first meeting? Good question. Interviews tend to be an anxious time when we forget all the tips and tricks that we read about some time back. I have only really fundamentally one tip for an interview, and that is practice. Because when you are in an interview, it is a stressful time. It is an ambiguous time. You don't know who you are going to meet. You may be told you'll meet X, Y may turn up, or X plus Y may turn up. You don't know what they're going to ask, right? So there is a lot of ambiguity and there is a lot of anxiety and stress on you. That is not the time when you want to be thinking about something for the first time. And that will not give the best answer. That is the time when you want to be completely prepared for questions which you know are inevitable, or be prepared with answers that you know can be used for multiple questions, right? Whether they ask you to directly introduce yourself or to tell them about your work history or to tell them about who you are and what kind of work you're looking for, the underlying answer is similar. And if you have practiced that, and by practice, I don't mean just thinking about it on the commute to the interview. Practice is sitting down, writing these questions, writing down your answers, putting bullet points and saying, these are the top 3 things I want to convey in this answer, right? Because it shows who I am, what I want to do, and why I deserve this job, right? In an interview, you're trying to show 1, your experience, 2, your intent, right? I want to be back, I want this job, and 3, your potential, that you can learn, you can grow, and you can do an even better job. And for that, practice your answers. Write them down, stand in front of a mirror and say it. Ask your friends and family to sit down and do mock interviews with you. Say the answer again and again. The idea is not to go there and parrot it out, but the idea is that you have it so ingrained in you, you can say it in your sleep. When someone says, hey Divya, introduce yourself, you know exactly the 5 points that you want to cover. Because if you're sitting and thinking of that answer when you are in front of an interviewer and it's a slightly intimidating situation, that won't be your best answer. And you'll walk out saying, hey, I should have said this also, I should have added that also, and I missed so many things. The next question from Akshata. There are a lot of reskilling programs by company in the latest technology. When we reskill and try jobs in a domain different from previous experience, how to ensure that we are not treated as freshers as we do have some industry experience? That's a good question, and that is a challenge, right? Because even look at it from the company's point of view, even if they pick someone who has prior work experience, in some cases, if the technology is so new, that's really not of much relevance. And so, in a way, everyone is treated as new to this domain. Today, when we look at artificial intelligence or machine learning, or, so they don't have a great history of candidates or a great history of work experience to follow, right? So, what you can do is make sure that your industry experience can give you some additional benefits in the role. Like if you have managed people before, right? That's something that does not go away. You have learned how to do that. You know how to do that. So you could ask to oversee a team as you learn with them, right? But you have to understand that when you're looking at completely new, latest technologies, it's not going to be that easy, because even the companies and the hiring managers are grappling with what kind of skills that job requires, or how much in-depth knowledge of that technology does the job require, and even sometimes how many people do we require, because we don't know how efficient this technology is and we don't know how many people it needs. So it is a bit of a challenge, Akshita, and what you can do is definitely try and leverage on some skills which are universal, right? Like communication skills, like people management skills, like data analytical skills, and see if you can get a leg up in the team basis that, or at least have a discussion on getting some kind of priority or preference for good projects that come later. Okay. Amrita asks, what would be the top 3 qualities hiring managers would look for in a returnee? Okay, good question. As a hiring manager, I think the number one quality that I would expect to come through in an interview or even in a resume is the intent to come back, right? Because purely from a hiring manager's perspective, there is always a bit of worry that is this person able to commit to the kind of job that they have applied for? Especially if you're applying for something which is a full-time job, are they in a position to come back to it full-time, or are there other commitments which are a challenge for them, right? So what you need to do is really talk about your intent, talk about the arrangements that, and you don't have to get specific, you don't have to share any personal information, but talk about the fact that yes, I was away for 3 years for motherhood or for childcare or for elder care, and now I have made a decision to come back. and I have the full support of all my stakeholders, my family, etc. And I am ready to come back for a full-time job, and I'm ready to do what it takes to fulfill the responsibilities that you will give me. And in various ways, through various answers to different questions, you need to kind of convince them of that.